Hi there. We're going to install the replicated MongoDB using a Docker swarm in the entire world using pre-installed scripts with the AWS Marketplace. And these are from charmingcloud.net. That's right. Okay, so we're going to install this cloud formation. You're going to see it after you install from the AWS Marketplace. You're going to get to a place where you do the cloud. You'll see this cloud formation. The initial server, which is the Docker swarm manager, the leader of the Docker swarm, which creates the other 3 replicated servers all around the world, is in the region that you start the script. So right now we're in Northern Virginia. You see we have a little bit. We're using the defaults, T2 micro. Okay, and we're gonna run the primary Mongo. We're gonna run that in Ireland. Over there we're gonna be able to read and write and all that kind of stuff. And we're gonna also make it a T2 micro. We're gonna use standard disk. The disk that this refers to is an XFS formatted volume that's created according to whatever size you want. Here we're just going to use the default of 20, but you can make it as large or as small as you want. Alright, the secondaries, which you cannot write to, we're going to put also a T2 micro. We're going to put the first secondary in Sao Paulo in Brazil, and the third secondary we're going to put back in Northern Virginia. And again, the XFS file system, which MongoDB really prefers, otherwise it yells at you. We're going to use just a standard. All right, so now we're ready to roll. See the window, my picture is covering the window. So we're going to press next. Okay, and over here, we're just going to take the defaults over here and press next. And then in the third screen, we have to agree to use that it creates IAM privileges, because it's going to create 3 more servers, so you got to let it do it. We're going to press create, and it's going to start creating. Okay, but let's look in the meantime at a MongoDB that we set up already. As you can see, this is the the swarm manager, and using the command docker machine ls, we see all of these servers. As we see, the 0 is the charming 0 is the primary. You can read and write to that one. Here you have the IP addresses, so you can use them to connect your driver however you want to connect to Mongo database, or you can use the CLI, which we're going to demonstrate in a moment. And the secondary, we have the IP address here, which, as you remember, is in Sao Paulo, and the third one is back in good old Northern Virginia. Okay, so here I'm using a PowerShell locally in my local window. All right, first we'll show you the first secondary. This is the primary. Okay. There's the secondary, and where's the other secondary? It must be this one. Okay, so here, this secondary, if you you see, it shows you the DBs, because it'll only show you the DBs if you run the command rs-slave OK with brackets around it with parentheses. Then it allows it. Where's the other one? I want to show you where you're not allowed. So that'll allow you to run your reports in the secondary one after you create the databases. Now this one, you see, this one isn't allowed because we didn't run that command. So this one we can have it just as like for safekeeping, that we're not going to even look at it, that it'll copy, replicate all the data from the primary, and the second one we can use for making reports. And in the primary one, we can create databases. So let's do that. So let's in order to create a database in MongoDB, you don't have to like create DB and other more complicated databases. We're going to create a database. We just say use it. Just use it. We're going to say use charming DB. We'll call it 2. Okay, because we already have one that I made. Okay, so now it's switched to there. So now we'd like to insert some data. So let's insert some data. Let's say, okay, we want to show you our other data, our other website, which is our blog. So you could go to charming.click to check out our blog. There's lots of information about MongoDB and lots of other stuff that we sell. And this will insert it into the database. The database, you can't see it. It doesn't, if you would open another window and write use show DBs, it won't show you this database until you write to it. So in order to write to it, so we just inserted some data. And now in order to write to it, you have to put this command, right, the DB, and you want to insert. So let's call it charmingcloud.net. Okay, and we're going to insert into there. Okay, now it should be inserted. So now we'd like to see the data that we inserted into that DB. So we're going to run this little script over here. You can see it also at the charming click. Okay. All right, so we're going to repaste this script instead of writing it again. It doesn't like to be upended. Okay. Then so here we see what we inserted into our database. We see we inserted charming click into the database, so you can see the database. Now let's go over to our secondary that we did the allow the slave to show stuff, and we'll let's do show DBs first. And here you see it has charming DB and charming DB2 that we just made, as well as the admin and the local. So now we'll paste in this script again that shows us everything of every database, this current database, all of the tables. We didn't switch to use charming 2, charming DB2, that's why it didn't show us anything. So now we'll paste that in. And here we have the data that we stuck in. So this was replicated. Remember, this secondary server is in Northern Virginia. The primary server is in Ireland. And the other secondary server that we don't have write permissions to is in Sao Paulo. And we're just going to leave that without writing because we want to just have it as a spare. And the other one we're going to use for reports. So I really hope that you enjoyed seeing this. Remember to check out charmingcloud.net and charming.click.